Hey, if you're like every servicepreneur, every coach, consultant, trainer, healer, or licensed professional, you want to not just grow your income, but you really want to build wealth by leveraging your time, your intellectual property, the books, the courses, the programs, even the systems that you've created. Well, have you ever thought about helping people on a much bigger scale without making yourself totally crazy and exhausted? Well, one way you can do that is by licensing those programs, those courses, books, and even the systems that you've created. And you're going to get a peek into how to do that in today's conversation. I'm Winnie Anderson. I'm a business strategist. I work with servicepreneurs, coaches, consultants, trainers, other professional solution experts, and I help them nail their message, get it out in a more powerful way, and build their business so they make the impact and the income they deserve. Now, let me tell you about my guest, Karen Greenstreet. She's an internationally known speaker, author, and self-employment expert who's taught business and personal development topics to well over 250,000 people worldwide. That is so crazy. She is crazy passionate about helping small business owners create the life and the business they want, which is actually why we even connected. We met online in Facebook, I think in a Facebook group. She has a great book out called One Action Now, Get Focused, Stay on Track, and Get More Done in Your Business. You can find a link to that in the show notes, which are on my website. They're also inside my Facebook group, Client Focused Business Builders Network. So listen in as Karen shares what made her think of licensing anyway, what is licensing, what types of licensing are out there, how complex is it. So talk about, do you actually need a lawyer? What other alternatives did she think about? And then what kind of commitment or support are you actually, do you need to make to the people who actually buy your license? So listen in, and I will see you at the end of the conversation. Karen, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so excited to finally get to do this with you.
Me too.
So let's just dive right in, shall we? Now, as I mentioned on the intro, this is probably like the most we've talked. We really, truly met virtually in, I don't know, some random Facebook group or something.
Yep.
So I saw a post where you were sharing that you had been working on this licensing agreement thing. And I'll be honest with you, that so intrigued me. And I've had people ask if they could use my content if I sold it or whatever. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have her on here. So I like to make sure that we're on the same page when it comes to language. So can you just explain what we mean by licensing? What the heck is that? And I'm going to make sure my phone is turned off.
Sure. And I'm not an attorney, so
that's right.
Let me give you my interpretation. So essentially, licensing is a way of leveraging your material, your process, your program, so that other people can deliver it. And so what I did was I have both a class and a book, and other people wanted to teach it. And so I give them permission to teach my material using my material, meaning they have to use my book, my workbook, right. And they have it for a certain amount of time. In my case, it's 12 months. Sometimes it's 2 years, whatever. And they pay you a royalty to do that. And then you can decide, is it an unlimited license? They can do it as many times as they want. Do they have a territory they have to do it in? I mean, there's all kinds of
okay.
Now, if you have something that's more, not like a training or a book, but more like a coaching program, say that you have the best, I don't know, weight loss coaching program or business development coaching program or executive leadership coaching program, and it's mostly coaching, and you could teach people how to be coaches and license them to be your coaches. And I know you've seen it. You know, they're certified John Maxwell coaches and stuff like that. So you've seen it around. That's essentially what these are, that you're giving people permission to use your material and to use your process, your system, your flow in order to work with their customers.
Okay. So do they actually, is it like white labeling kind of thing, or do you still have your credit at the bottom? How does that work?
It depends on how you want to do it. You could do both. Typically what you see is that the person who's developed the program, I'm going to use the word program, it could be training, book, coaching program, some sort of system, but let's just call it a program to make
Right.
life easy. So the person who's developed that program often will have spent an awful lot of time developing it and an awful lot of time branding it and getting it known.
Right.
And so typically you want your branding to say on it, and they will become a licensed, like in my case, a licensed One Action Now, program deliverer kind of a thing.
Right. Right. Like a provider.
Right.
Yeah.
You can, if you want to, take a program that could be delivered to kind of a generic audience. Like say you have a small business development program that you've created, you could white label it and say to people, look, you can put your name, your brand on this. It's yours, and you pay me a royalty. Typically you do that, the royalty is way higher because it's way valuable to be able for someone to basically buy a business in a box and say, well, I'm going to take this XYZ program, I'm going to stick my label on it, and boom, instantly I have a program. Because developing a program can take a long time. It can take years sometimes.
Yeah. And it took you years to get the knowledge to be able to create it, no matter how much time it took.
Yeah.
And I know that back in the day when I was a corporate trainer, and I still use this rule of thumb really to a degree, that we always worked on that it takes 8 hours of development time for every single hour of teaching time. Do you use the same kind of
Yeah, I usually do 10 to 1, but yes, absolutely. Yeah. And to me, it depends. If I have to create like a slideshow in addition to something, then yes. If I have to write a book, then it's way more than that.
Absolutely. Right. So, and if you didn't know very much and you've got to put in more time researching, then 8 to 12 with the average probably being 10. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. And if you typically what people do is they're basing their program on their own experience. And so they have learned from others over, an X amount of, 10 years or 20 years or however long it took them to learn from others and also put into practice and to modify it and make it their own. Or they have come up against a challenge that no one had a solution to. They developed their own solution for their own challenge, and then they started telling other people about it, and that became a program. Yeah. So if you are doing it where it's coming from you, then it's actually quite easy. That's maybe more the 8 hour to 1 hour of training because it's coming from you. It's your own knowledge. You don't have to do research. You're just putting it out there. If it's something where you want to also quote other people, that takes a lot of other work to do. But in any case, put a lot of effort into it. And this is a way of getting it out into the public in a much bigger way than you could probably do on your own. Yes. Especially if you're a solo entrepreneur or a small business owner, you got a lot going on. It may not be feasible for you to, travel to 25 countries to deliver your program, but you could have people in 25 countries delivering it for you. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do think it's a great way to maximize your impact while maximizing the revenue that you're possibly earning from this. So yeah, I think it's a really fabulous idea. And yeah, there's probably so many people out there whose content is reasonably generic, or even if it's not generic, there are subsets of your audience all over the world. So yeah, I think it's a really great idea. So I think this is a fascinating story. Tell us a little bit more about this, how this happened to you and how you came to point. Yeah, and I've known about licensing for years, and it never really, it wasn't something that was on my radar. It wasn't something I was particularly interested in. When I was first a small business owner back when, like the month after I graduated from college, I opened up a photography studio. Okay. I had a business degree, but so what? I was 1 month out of college. What did I know, And I ran that for 12 years. But during that time, I had to figure out how to get myself organized, how to put project plans together, how to put action plans together, how to get things done, how to not procrastinate, how to stay organized. Because I was not that way. I was like the kid who had the messiest bedroom, like that kid, And even in college, I didn't really have to mend my ways too much about staying on top of things and keeping organized. Even with my schoolwork and stuff, it was all right. When I got to be a business owner, it could kill my business. And I realized that quickly. I said, okay, I'm juggling a lot of stuff here. How do I figure out how to get it all done? And how do I figure out what needs to be done? How much time it's going to take? Just all of that. Yeah. So I developed the system for myself, of course, because that's what we often do. And then I said, oh, hey, this is really cool. I will teach this to other business owners. And so I created the One Action Now class probably 15 years ago. Well, I taught that for a while. Fast forward, maybe about 4 years ago, I created a mastermind group for mastermind group facilitators called Synergy. And one of the things I wanted to teach them was this material so that they could use it with their mastermind groups. These are people who are running mastermind groups, and I'm running a mastermind group to help them how to run mastermind groups, if that makes sense. So I wanted to give them that material, and I was originally going to say, well, I have this class. I could probably just like encapsulate it in like a 1-hour video. And I started writing the script for the 1-hour video. I was like, this is bigger than that.
Yeah.
Let me write it up. It'll be, 10 pages. Well, after I was at page 100, I was like, this is a lot more. This is a lot of material. So I gave them an ebook of about 100 pages. And then I said, if I add another 100 pages, this is a book. So 2 years ago, I decided to go ahead and write that book. It was finally finished this past December. And published and everything. And I gave the book to my Synergy members and to some of my private consulting clients and said, here you go, nice gift, have a nice day, And they were like, oh, can we teach this to our clients? And can we use this in our mastermind group? And can we use this one-on-one with private clients? Can we do it in groups? How can we use this? I'm like, okay, now I have to license this. Yeah. Now I want them out there teaching One Action Now, but I don't want them to just do it in any old way. And so from me having to figure out the solution myself and devising this system, which I perfected over 30 years, creating a class for it, doing something for my Synergy members kind of on the fly and not even expecting anything until they came back to me and said, yeah, I'd like to teach this. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, now if people are interested, what do I do now, Smarty Pants? Right. Yeah. And that's how the whole thing got started. So it wasn't intentional. Like I didn't create a program with the intention to license, which of course strategically you can do. But it kind of crept up on me and I had to do this. Luckily, I knew enough about licensing and knew enough people who had already licensed their material that I was able to tap a few brains and figure out how to do it.
Okay. So can you talk about how licensing is different from certification, or are they similar, or is that something that I don't really know enough?
Yeah, they may be something done in tandem. So typically certification means you have learned my system, my process, my program, right, and you've been tested to prove that you can do that thing. Okay. So you're a certified coach, a certified consultant, right, a certified trainer, a certified whatever. That may or may not mean that you can use all of my material and deliver it to your people. It may just mean you graduated from my program. So if I'm a certified coach, I can't take, Coach U or ITC or any of these other coaching schools. I can't take their stuff and teach it. That's not the same thing.
Right.
Licenses, I am allowed to take that material and teach it. Sometimes a license also requires certification. That part of the process is I will teach you my program. I will teach you how to deliver my program, which is another kind of training.
Yes.
And then I will watch you deliver my program. And if I think you're up to speed, you'll be certified as well.
Yeah.
For some licensing programs, they require that the people are tested to prove they can do what you want them to do, especially if your quality standards are very high. Others are like, nope, I'm going to do a train the trainer. I'll teach you how to use this with your clients, your students, your mastermind group members, whatever. And I'm assuming that you're going to get yourself up to speed. And if you have any questions, you'll ask me. So there's like layers of it, but certification is not the same thing as licensing. They may be done in tandem.
Yeah. I'm glad you clarified that, because you see this term certification just thrown out, I think, kind of willy-nilly really around the web for these various programs. And I do think that issue of how are you proving that you truly are certified, and if it's okay with you that you don't have to prove it, and that that's how they're not endorsing you really, they're just saying, I taught you how to do this stuff,
right,
whether you suck at it or not. That's let the buyer beware kind of thing. Right. So that's just something I think for us all to really think about as we look at these people who are saying, I'm certifying you to teach this.
Yes. And I've done both. I've done certification for my mastermind group facilitators where they have to run a mastermind group meeting and I have to watch them to see if they can do it well or not. And if they don't, they don't get the certification. With licensing, in my case, I decided that certification really wasn't necessary. It's a relatively easy class to teach once you understand the principles. and they have access to me to ask me questions. So as they're progressing on learning the material themselves, they can always come back to me.
Right.
One thing I do require is that they take the class, me teaching it, them watching me teach it, because they'll be wearing two hats. They'll be wearing the hat of the participant and actually doing the work as if they're a student,
Yeah.
but also have the other hat on saying, well, how is she teaching that? What stories is she telling? What questions is she asking? And so they get to watch that. So I do require that they are an active participant in that class and they show up for everything. They can't take that class self-study. They have to show up live.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So when did you decide, okay, I need to get an attorney involved in here? Did you do that from the very beginning once you knew you were serious about doing this, or were you able to go along?
No, because the thing is, of course, when you're first creating materials, it's all private to you, so that doesn't really matter. When it comes down to figuring out the licensing offer, you don't even really need an attorney for that. You can decide, who keeps the trademark, which the answer is you, and the copyright is you. Do they have to buy materials from you, or can they copy materials you give them?
Okay.
Can they use the logo? Where can they use the logo? So I said to my licensees, I said, if you want to use the logo anywhere other than on a workbook, you need to let me know where you're putting it. If you're putting it on a pen or a mug or a pad, I don't care. If you're putting it on a toilet seat cover, I totally care. And so I need to protect my brand. And so there are rules about what you let them do and what you don't let them do.
Okay.
Then you need to create a licensing agreement, and that's where you probably want an attorney at least to review it. But these days with like NOLO and some of these other LegalZoom,
right,
you can get an attorney to review an agreement for a relatively inexpensive amount of money. And there are plenty of licensing agreement examples out on the internet to get you started thinking about what wording you want. Yeah. And then you can send it through an attorney. And it kind of depends on how sophisticated your program is and whether your intention is to like take this worldwide and become rich and famous. The more sophisticated and the wider reach you want to have, the more you need an attorney to look at that agreement. If you're thinking, I want 10, 15, 20 licensees, I honestly don't care what they do with it, then just put a simple agreement together. It's as legally binding as anything else. You just have to decide what are the rules, what are the boundaries about what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are so many things. I'm married to a corporate attorney and that does not make me want, yes, please be sympathetic to me. But there really are lots of things to be concerned about. And if you're going to have an agreement, you have to enforce it. So we're not attorneys. Just because I'm married to one doesn't make me an attorney.
Yes.
So you definitely want to run this by your own attorney and think about it from your own viewpoint. But there are lots of little subtleties, which is why
yes.
lawyers, because they're experts in what they do. So you just want to make sure that when you do talk to somebody, and I'll include this in the show notes, that you talk to somebody who really is a business lawyer, somebody who knows about agreement.
Property. You want someone who understands intellectual property, because probably you're going to want to trademark it. And copyright you can do yourself. Trademarking is a little bit more sophisticated. I'd hire somebody to do that. It's a long process and there's a lot of steps to it. I'd rather have someone who knows what they were doing.
Yeah. So were you able to have the same person, same attorney help you with both pieces, or one did the licensing and one did the...
No, intellectual property is intellectual property. That shouldn't be a problem.
Great. Great.
And the intellectual property attorney should be able to help you with what part of your program is trademarkable? Is it just the logo and the name, or is it the content? They can give you a lot of details.
Okay. That's great. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about how you run things. I think that really helps get the juices flowing for everybody else, right? What's possible? And then do I want to do it that way or not? So let's talk about the kind of support that you provide your licensees. You kind of alluded to that, but let's go into a little bit more detail about that so they know that, hey, I'm getting a lot of value for this license.
Right. And again, it depends on what you're charging for the license. So an example, a One Action Now license is only $4.99 for the first year, but that includes a training class that's involved. I'm sorry, 2 training classes. Wow. The One Action Now class, and then the Train the Trainer class that teaches you how to teach that class. But I wanted a really simple licensing model, and so I looked at C.J. Hayden's model and said, for her book, she did this really super simple license with it, and it was it was easy to comprehend and it was easy to administer.
Okay.
If you want to, you can go to the other extreme. You can say, okay, I will, the license is, I don't know, $8,000 and you'll get a train the trainer and you'll get some coaching from me and you'll get a 1-year group and you'll get our conference and you'll get, you can expand it as much as you want to, as much as you want to support them. But I think at minimum, you must make sure that they comprehend your system and that they can use it. And so one of the best ways is either for them to become your student, your client, your mastermind group member, and they participate as a member while you, the owner, are delivering the material the way you want them to deliver it.
Yeah.
The other option is for you to teach it to them like a train the trainer or train the coach kind of a program. And at the same time, they have at least one client, one-on-one client that they are working through this program with. So they learn from you 1 week, the next week they use that material with a client.
Yeah.
They learn the next thing from you, then the next week they practice it. And the client knows that they're kind of like a beta tester. They, you don't tell them, oh yeah, I'm certified in this and you're really on week 2, But the nice thing about a program like that is people are actually using it immediately. And then they come back to the next meeting with you and they're like, oh, I did this with my client and here's my 17 questions that came up.
Yeah.
And it's real hands-on. So how much practice do you want to give them? Do you want them to be able to practice it as part of your training? Do you, as an example, if I did a train the trainer for an education program, would I require that each student get up and teach one lesson, one module in front of the other students so that I can watch their style, their presentation? Right. Yeah. Are they explaining it well? Do I want accountability groups? Do I want people to buddy up and practice with each other? I mean, there's a million different ways of doing it, depending on how sophisticated you want to make this. And of course, the more sophisticated, then the more you're charging. So you need to know who is your target audience for this? Who are the people likely to want to license your material, and kind of what is their price point. So it's a choice on your side about complexity. How simple or complex do you want your licensing program to be? And then the other side, how much money will the audience bear? Because if you make your licensing program incredibly sophisticated and there's a 10-month apprenticeship program and, a 3-month certification test or something like that, well, that has to be administered. Someone has to do all that work, which means you're going to be hiring people. Then you're going to have to bump up the price of your license.
Right. Yeah.
But they get more value. I mean, that's how it works.
And so I think that one, you mentioned this is your brand, this is your material. So you want to think about these people are now representing really you and your work out in the marketplace.
Yes, exactly.
And then I know that this is this could very well be a high-end offering and therefore a whole line of revenue, a whole business model that it contributes to. And I know that there are people out there who have been thinking, cha-ching, this is a way to bring in more money. And while yes, that's true, I hope that you're hearing this level of complexity, even in the simple level that you have entered into. So I'm really big on tiers. If you start out with something that's very simple, that people are actively asking you for that is applicable, you can always then test those waters and learn, hey, no, I am going to have this higher level. And then those people could always take the test, right, to get to be the gold
level. Exactly. So say that I have licensees right now. So I've done my first group of licensees. They're off learning the material, studying it, deciding when they're going to, hold their first class, and so forth. Well, 6 months from now, they might have done this a few times. They're like, okay, I want to take this into corporations and they want to know if I'm certified. It's like, okay, now I can decide, do I want to create a certification program or not? Knowing that. Now, if I get one person out of 30 who ask, then I am not so worried about it. If I get, 50 people out of 100, then I am worried about it. So just because somebody asks you for something doesn't mean you have to do it.
Right.
And so you don't have to implement all these steps at once because that can feel overwhelming.
Yes.
So what is the simplest license you can offer to the smallest group that you can support given the situation you have right now as you build the next level.
Right. Now, I know there's a level of evergreen nature to the content that you've been teaching, obviously, because you've been teaching it for a while. But is there a level of updating and changes that you make that then they get as part of that license that they buy? I guess it's within the year, however, is the length of your agreement. Is that right?
Right. Now, for One Action Now, it is extremely evergreen content, so the likelihood that I would need to update anything is slim. However, so I just went through the Train the Trainer with this group of licensees, and they asked me questions that were not in the lesson plan, and they get the lesson plan as part of their content. So I said to them, I will update the lesson plan and give you a newer version. So I had a small update. I just gave it to them.
Okay.
Some licensing programs are not necessarily evergreen. So as an example, I know someone who does like a Facebook ads course. Well, Facebook ads change every 5 seconds.
Right.
So as part of the course, you also get any time she updates the video lessons, you just get the updated version. And that's part of your program, and whether her program is like 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is, because that's the nature of the content. Right. So part of it depends on what you're licensing. If you're licensing something on personal transformation, it probably will not change that often.
Yeah.
If you're licensing something on technology or medicine, it could change
every
rapidly.
5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, and that then impacts your pricing. It impacts much more about your communication, your overall business model. So you
need to do the math and write a list of what you're going to offer them and what is that going to cost you, not just in money but in time, and not just your time, but time you have to hire other people.
Yep.
Because you may be absolutely in a situation where you're like, look, I'm going to have to hire, if I want 200 people, 200 licensees, I need to create a membership site. Therefore, I need to hire a website designer. Now, all of a sudden, it's becoming more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And so you need to do that math and say, okay, what's doable and what is it going to cost?
Yeah, I think that is an outstanding point as well, because then, and it's not just that, well, I got that off my plate. Now you've got to manage those people, right? And so there's a level of, you've got to train them, bring them up to speed. Right. And manage them. There's that reporting mechanism.
Yep.
So it's not letting you completely off the hook. It's just just changing things a bit, and you still need to factor your own then management time into the process. So
Now, if you have, say, 50 or 100 or 200 or 300 licensees, you cannot manage that all on your own. And so what ends up happening is you then create a management level under you of people who've been through your program. They're expert at your topic. Right. They can answer it almost as well as you can. And they manage the licensees and you manage the mentors.
Yes.
If that makes sense. You have to have layers at some point. There's no way that you can do it all and answer everyone's questions. You would spend your entire day on your Facebook group or your message forum answering questions.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So as an example, I just did a Train the Trainer, and I think I probably could do tops 20 in a Train the Trainer because I really need to be able to answer questions. If I had 100 people in that room, I'm not going to really be able to work with people. I'm not going to know where they're struggling. Then I would need to have someone else in there. So probably in that kind of situation, I might do tables of 8, and for every 7 people, there's one mentor at the table. So when they're doing exercises, the mentor leads them through that, and the mentor answers questions, and then we go back to the training. So there's sophistication layers in there. Don't freak out. You could start with a really, really simple program, have 10 or 12 licensees, you're done, and that's it. You don't have to make it hugely sophisticated. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And because we're all entrepreneurs here, we go instantly to the, what are the possibilities?
Yes.
You can make yourself insane by doing that. So what's the smallest thing you can do to just start testing?
Just get started.
Yes.
Maybe get together a beta test of 5 licensees. And just start with them, see what kind of questions come up.
Yep.
Now, I know a woman once who had 165 licensees for her coaching program that she had. And it was a pretty sophisticated program, and she had all kinds of bells and whistles and stuff to it, but she had people underneath her. But she didn't start with 165 people, but she knew she wanted to grow that big. That was her intention, was to create this big business. So from the very beginning, she put systems and processes in place that she could unfold. At the bigger it got, she was prepared to then go, okay, I unleash this next thing. I unleash this next thing. So she thought through like a 2-year plan and then said, okay, now month 1, what do I have to do today?
Yeah.
So that's the tough part
Yeah.
is not getting so wrapped up in where you want to be that you don't know how to get started.
So having that vision, having that intention, even if it's just a glimmer in your mind, I wonder how big I could take this. Just start with something simply and feel successful with that, and then begin to, all right, what could be the next thing? Sometimes I think we can be in such a hurry to get to the end, and you need to ride those. It's almost, back in corporate life, I had my SVP used to talk about the length of time it took for any professional to work through all of the possibilities, right, in that job category.
Yep.
That you weren't really comfortable. It was the rule of thumb we used was 18 months.
Yeah.
So you might feel like you're in a hurry to get to the next level of your organization, but you haven't fully mastered what you got going. You're not even average at what you got going on here yet. And I think sometimes we feel that same pressure.
Well, back when I did small business consulting, I can't tell you how many people come to me and they'd be like, I have a business idea. I was like, okay, tell me a little bit about your goals. They're like, I would like to earn $10,000. It's like, oh, that's doable by next month. I was like, okay, what access do you have to your audience? They're like, none. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Are you known at all?
Right.
But they had big dreams and they didn't really want to do the work it would take to make those steps happen. I was like, okay, when I used to get a prospect call like that, I'm like, I can't really help you because you don't really understand the work that's involved and the dedication. But the thing is that so many of us have gold in our heads. We really have information we like to get out into the world, and we don't know how to do that. And so having a process of saying, okay, I'm going to get it out of my head, get it onto paper, see what I've got, and see what I can create from that, and decide how far I want to take it, at least today, how far I want to take it. If I take it from today to, say, 2 years from today, and I stop at that point and stick my head up and say, where am I? I might be like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to go big.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I wasn't ready, but now that I've done this for 2 years, 18 months, like you said, I've mastered this level, and now I'm ready to take it to the next level. So we don't always know where our dreams will take us, but we do have a vision for where we want to go, at least for the next year or so.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing we need to watch out for is the bright, shiny object, right? That we, whether we want to achieve that next level or we just get frustrated because things aren't working out the way we want, well, I'm going to go over here. And it's kind of that stopping 3 feet from gold kind of concept where if you just kept going, but I know I've done this myself where I just get so frustrated, and then you get, you're creative. So you have another idea come into your head and you're, oh, isn't that nice? Before you know it, you haven't really moved anything forward.
Right. Or everyone tells you you should write a book. Everyone tells you should create an online training class. Everyone tells you whatever. And you get to a place that's like, just because people are telling me they think that that's a good idea doesn't mean I have to do it, because is it a good idea for me?
Right.
Or is it going to distract me from really what it is I'm trying to do? So if you really love working one-on-one with people, then don't create a licensing program if it's going to distract you from doing the thing that you love, which is working one-on-one with people right now. If you love working one-on-one with people and you think that you would like to impact more people, then, okay, how do I do that? What is the licensing program, and how much of my time do I want to give to it? Do I want to stop working one-on-one with clients for 3 months and develop this and get it done and then go back to working with clients? Or do I want to kind of do a little bit at a time, even though it might take me way longer? It's the balance that I want. So much of this has to be reflective of who you are and what you want out of life in general, and not just what people are asking you for, or people are telling you, well, you should do this. If you want to be seen as an expert, you should write a book. It's like, I don't want to write a book. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Yeah. Amen on all of that. That's so great. We all come at things from our own point of view and perspective, and naturally we then project that onto the other person. And, if you don't
Right.
want to, then don't do it. Don't be seduced by this will bring you millions.
Yes, exactly.
And
Or everyone's
really,
doing it. If you don't do it, people will not respect you as an expert. I'm like, please.
well, yeah, right. Yeah.
In this day and age, there's a million ways to take your knowledge and your skills and your abilities and your expertise and bring it forward. It's just
Yeah.
a million ways.
Absolutely. So is there a kind of person or kind of information that you think somebody who is in that, fill in the blank should consider licensing or maybe start thinking about it? Or is it the kind of thing that you think it's, I don't know, after you've achieved, like we're saying, for a certain type of person, after you've been an expert and people are really coming to you and seeking you out maybe? How do you figure that
Well,
out?
so really you have two ways of looking at that. If you have the kind of mind that loves to research the whole world and then bring it down and sort of simplify it and make all the pieces fit,
Yeah.
but you haven't created a system for that yet, then by all means do that. So I'll give you an example. I know one woman who has combined business consulting, pure strategic business consulting with yoga and meditation, and that's her program. Well, she knows a little bit about yoga and meditation. She knows an awful lot about business consulting. So she kind of had to bring these different pieces of her world together and create a program and then license it. Other people say, I have been teaching this program, or I've been working with my clients with this program, or I've been using this system of whatever it is for myself for years. I just need to codify it. I just need to get it out of my head. I have it all in there. It's not just a bunch of ideas. This is something I do every day.
Yeah.
And that's actually what happened with me in One Action Now. Every day I have my to-do list. Every day I know exactly what my appointments are. Every day I keep my eyes focused on what my big picture goals are. Every day I don't get on Facebook so that I'm not distracted.
Yeah.
And I've taught myself these things over the years. And so it's just a natural next step for me to then get it out on paper and get it out into the world. So whether you're the kind of person who needs to research it all first and then put a system together, or you're the kind of person that really essentially already has a system, you just need to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Either way is fine. I think the person who doesn't have an idea of what they want to do needs to first come up with an idea.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing also is your stuff's got to work. Right?
That's
You
why, yeah.
kind of feel good about that this stuff works, and it works well over the majority of the time, and it
Yes.
works for this particular segment of person, or it works for a wide type of person.
Exactly.
But I know my stuff works, and
Yes.
if you don't know that works, I think that's job one, is to perfect that system.
Yes, get it in front of an audience, get the feedback, refine it, put it in front of another audience, get the feedback, refine it, get case studies, prove it works.
Right.
Now, you're very much in a situation that sometimes you have to rely upon the participant to do their thing in order to prove it works.
Yeah.
So there's always that caveat. It's like, well, I have the greatest weight loss program in the world if people will do what they're supposed to do. I have the greatest business development program in the world if people will do what they're supposed to do. So you need to gather around you the success stories that you've had,
Right.
and you need to build into your program some sort of device or success system that keeps people on track so they will do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
And so a lot of this really comes down to good design and knowing the psychology of getting people through a program.
Yeah, and making it easy for people to achieve. But this issue of compliance, as we would call it in corporate life, is a real one. There are plenty of
Has been for
stats out
years.
since chalk was invented.
Yes.
This has been actually, it's a pet issue of mine. It's something that I've been working on for the last several years. So more on that in the not too distant future, I hope. But I've done research on, and yes, it is literally just, if you look back, it's just always the common problem
Right.
of truly helping people create the success they want, whether it's they get in their own way, or the systems aren't there to make it easy for them, or whatever it is. Compliance, a true achievement and application is the root of all problems.
Right. You need to get people to implement your
Right.
program. It's one thing to teach it to them or to talk with them about it. It's another thing to get them to actually do it and to support them while they're doing it, which is why I love mastermind groups. It's why I like accountability groups. It's why I like one-on-one coaching and consulting, because then you could both teach and help them to implement. If they don't get the support they need, if whatever your program is doesn't provide that next level where as they're trying to implement, they get stuck, that you can help them through that through some sort of coaching program, consulting program, mentoring program, mastermind group, whatever you want to call it, then the implementation, the compliance, as you call it, is going to falter. And if that falters, that means that you don't have success stories to share with your audience to get the next round of people to take your class or to join your mastermind group or whatever it is. So you're very much in a situation that your participant success, your client success is crucial for your success.
Yeah, it really is. And that means making sure that you're working with the best clients, that the best people are taking your program, that you're not just shooting with a fire hose when what you really need is a squirt gun, and that you really are having people who you know are a great fit for your program. That's outstanding.
Exactly.
So what do you know now about licensing that maybe you wish you knew before you got into this? Anything?
I wish I knew how easy it was. I know it sounds crazy, but I wish I knew that there was because all the licensing programs I had seen in the past were these big sophisticated packages and, a two-year program and, it costs $20,000 or $30,000. I was like, why is this so complicated? And so I backed off from doing it. I was like, I don't want that level of sophistication around One Action now. It's I don't know, like a $17 book or a $14 book or whatever it is on Amazon. Do I really need to have a $30,000 program around it? And so I didn't. I was like, that's overkill. And then I said, when people started asking me about it, I said, let me dig around. And then I started to see some people had the simplest license programs. I was like, oh, I could just do this.
There you go.
They have to come to class. They have to do a train the trainer. They have to pay their licensing fee. Every year they pay like $99 to renew. Done. I was like, oh, well, I can do that. And so if I had known that, I probably would have been licensing half of my programs. I must have 150 or 200 classes on my hard drive that I've designed. My background's like you, instructional designer, so I love to design classes, that I could license those classes to other coaches and consultants. And now they know how simple it is. I might go back and say, oh, what's next? What can I do next?
That's really an outstanding way of looking at it, that yes, now that you've gotten your sea legs, if you will, you can now do this with your other programs.
Especially stuff that you haven't used in a long time, because I'll give you an example. I don't do small business consulting anymore. So I have all this material on helping small businesses to grow that I'm not using anymore because I'm no longer in that business. I'm in the mastermind group business. And so I'm like, why should I get rid of that material? It's still valuable. I could just license it and let other people do it. And there are other small business coaches and consultants who would love to have that material so that they don't have to develop it themselves.
Sure.
And I can get it out into the world without going back into that business that I'm not in anymore.
Brilliant. That I think that is really a brilliant strategy, because
leveraging what you've got.
Leverage what you have. Exactly. There are so many of us, right, who end up going into this side road that we go, I didn't know this side road was even here, and I love it. This is where I am, but I've got this big body of knowledge and body of work that
that's valuable. I mean, so a lot of people who are business owners, they have transitioned their business and they have rethought it, reinvented it maybe 2 or 3 times. And so they have all this knowledge and material from the old business.
Right.
Don't throw that away. Can you sell that information to someone who wants to deliver it to their audience?
Yeah. Brilliant.
And therefore you're going to make some money on it and get it out into the world, because it's still valuable. It's just not valuable for what you're trying to do, but it doesn't mean it's not valuable for someone.
That is a writer downer. That was just fabulous. What an awesome idea. So,
go back to your hard drive and see what you got.
I'm telling you, exactly. Yeah, please. I once had an assistant say, I bet you have $1 million on your hard drive.
Yep.
And I bet yeah, I do. And all the different corporate stuff I've done and
Yep.
yeah, all please. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That should be my my sole job is going through and packaging all my stuff,
Yep.
which I'm working on actually. So
Good.
I could go on for days about all of this. This is so much fun. You've been so awesome sharing this great information. Karen, fill us in on exactly what it is you do. I know I explained a little bit of it in the intro, but it's always nice to hear it from the horse's mouth, if you will. So fill us in.
Yeah. So essentially my day job, what I do full time is I teach people how to create and run mastermind groups. So that website is thesuccessalliance.com. And I have classes and I have a mastermind group and all kinds of stuff. And it really is for people who want to help their people implement what they've been teaching them all this time and help them to achieve goals in kind of this brainstorming group. And I love it because it allows me to be a coach and a consultant and a trainer and a mastermind group facilitator. I use the totality of who I am in one place instead of divvying it out. Then the One Action Now book is just oneactionnow.com, or just go to Amazon. You'll find it out there. That book is really, I wrote it for small business owners because my Synergy members are all small business owners. I wrote it for small business owners. Basically, here's how to get more done. Here's how to stop feeling overwhelmed in your business. Here's how to plan your business projects. Here's how to set your business goals. Here's how to stop being distracted and procrastinating. Here's how to get to know what tasks you have to do and when you have to do them and what it's going to take and what resources you need. And it's just a book about business planning, not business planning like business design, but running a business, the nuts and bolts
of it done
every day, get it done kind of stuff. And so One Action Now is the culmination for me of years of being a small business owner and working with small business owners. And even though I don't work with them anymore, I do want to serve them with that one book.
Yeah. That's outstanding. So awesome. So of course we'll have links to everything that you mentioned along with some of the resources, all the resources of course that Karen and I mentioned and anything else that I think of or that she shares with us, and we'll have links to wherever she is on social media so you can connect with her there as well and get to her main site. So Karen, thank you so much for taking this time out of your day.
Thanks, Winnie. I love it. Thank you so much.
All right, hope you found that interesting and that it got your wheels turning. I've listened to it at least 3, 4, 5 times, I think. Licensing is now definitely one of the bricks that I'm planning to put into my money pyramid. A money pyramid is a visual representation of how and what it takes to build a sustainable, scalable, service-based business. And you can read about it in my manifesto, The Servicepreneur's Dilemma. So if you're watching this on Facebook, you can just leave me a message in the comments and I'll get back to you on how you can get that manifesto. If you're watching this on YouTube or on my website, then just look somewhere under the video or in the body of the text that goes with this recording, and there are likely to be details about how you can get that. This is Winnie Anderson. Thanks very much for watching. You can tune in live on Facebook, subscribe to the video version on YouTube, or sign up to receive updates delivered right to your inbox by sharing your contact information on my website. All right, remember, you deserve all the success you dream of, and I'll see you again in another video soon.